Hey folks, this is Gogok coming at you with a 2.4.1 PTR item showcase. Just kidding, but let's get to the video. So new item dropped in 2.4.1 for the Witch Doctor is the Bakuli Jungle Wraps. We're seeing a lot of synergy out of Firebats, so this build looks at most of those items and tries to put it all together. So the Bakuli Jungle Wraps increases Firebats damage by up to 200% if the enemy is affected by locusts or piranhas, and so that's what we're going to see. Another buff for the Witch Doctor is going to be to the Arachyr's set. So damage previously was 800%, now it's buffed up to 1500%, which is absolutely significant. The other set bonuses didn't really see a change. Spider Queen still does what Spider Queen did. The damage reduction on Hex was not actually buffed up at all. So other sets got buffed from 50 to 60 or more percent damage reduction, but Arachyr's is staying at 50%. So that's probably going to be the main limiting factor on Arachyr if you're thinking about pushing greater rifts. But if you're looking for something to farm tier 10 really quick and do it on a Witch Doctor, Arachyr's is another option for that. So 4-set bonus. For 15 seconds after casting Hex, you get 50% damage reduction, and you're going to heal. The heal is massive, not a big deal on tier 10, but it definitely is a huge heal. And then again, the damage 1500% is going to affect corpse spiders, toads, bats, locusts, hex, and piranhas, so that's what we're going to be seeing in this build. Moving on to the weapons, we're using Manajumas. First bonus, the chicken explosion is going to increase by 400%. Chicken's not the majority of your damage, but it is significant. And with this set, if you kill an enemy with the explosion, it's going to fire off a chain reaction explosion. So it does add up. It's kind of nice. But the main reason we're running this is to increase the chicken duration by 15 seconds. So, and also increase the movement speed by 100. So chicken itself is going to give you 150. We're also using Severance, which is another 150 for 2 seconds. So when we stack these two together, we've got our base, and we're getting 150, 150, so we get 300% more. And then depending on what your other items are, that's how you're going to max out. When your chicken, 1 through 4 is going to be your explosion, like that, and that's where your damage is. Other skills, we've got Piranhas. This is going to proc the Arachyr's damage bonus for 4 seconds, pull everything in. And on tier 10, everything should die in that 4 seconds. It does also have a little damage increase. The dogs, basically a slot holder. It does have a little synergy. We'll see that later. But you could change this for preference. Locust Swarm is going to be good on mobile enemies. If you have a Rift Guardian that's running around all over the place, or goblins or whatever, then the Piranhas aren't going to be very effective. So, or if Piranhas is on cooldown for whatever reason, maybe you missed or something, this is going to proc your Bakuli again. And then of course Firebats, you can choose whatever rune you want. I think that this one's the best, and considering that we're going to be using the Bat Staff, it may or may not affect the 3 second interval on this. So as you start casting, you do less damage. After 3 seconds, you max out around 850. So maybe the Bat Staff has an effect on that, maybe not. But in either case, this is the highest damage rune, so that's what we're going with. And it's also an AoE, so you can stand in the center of monsters and churn this out. So, back to the gear. We got the Manajumas, we got the Arachyrs, we got the Bakuli. Next set is going to be Traveler's Pledge. I don't think it's a great idea to spend all the time to get a Hellfire on a T10 farmer when you could just throw this set in there. And the synergy with this build is pretty strong. So when you're moving around, your damage is going to be increased by 50%. So you get 50 from Manajuma when you pop Hex. Excuse me, with Arachyr's when you pop Hex, you get 50% up to 50% when you're running around with Traveler's Pledge. And then when you stand still, like you're going to do when you're casting bats, then it goes up to 100% with the damage increase, which is multiplicative. So that's massive damage, and that's going to be better than any ring item you could have gotten, or any passive that you could have picked. And it's also better than Focus and Restraint, having to proc those guys all the time. It's a pain in the ass. That will lock up a ring slot, and then your other ring slot you can run whatever you want. I've got CO in here just because I have it. I didn't even roll this item appropriately. But Again, you can run whatever you want. If for some reason you think you want to solo and you want to do Unity, that's an option. Tall man or short man's finger isn't going to really help you out because you're not getting pet damage with the set. But anything you want here, as long as you have the Royal Ring of Grandeur in the cube, so you can put on the shoulders. Talking about the shoulders, it's an optional item, but just to get all the bat synergy here together and see how it does. When you cast bats, you take 25% reduced damage, and you deal up to 25% increased damage. Pretty straightforward. The Coils of the Spider is another optional piece, but again, more bat synergy. So when you're casting bats, you're taking 30% less damage, and you're getting up to 80,000 life per hit, which is pretty significant. That wraps up for the items. Going over to the cube. So, Staff of Chiroptera. The bat staff, we never get to use it. Now's a chance we can finally put it in there. If you were to wear this, you would get a bat damage increase, but tier 10 you don't need it, and I'd rather have the speed from the chicken anyways. So you're casting bats twice as fast and 75% less mana. You really need this item if you're going to stand there spamming bats, unless you want to run something like Rain Dance. Other options would be Furnace, but why would I want 50% increased damage to only elites when I can get 100% cast speed on bats against everything? And also, if I'm casting faster, then I'm proccing Taeguk and Gogok and whatever else you're running as well. Gotta have Nemesis if you're doing speed runs. If you want to run something else, you could wear Nemesis and then cube whatever else you want. Another option would be to cube the Bakuli and wear the Krelm, or vice versa, to get 25% more run speed. That's probably what I would do, because you really don't need the Coils on tier 10. But if you do run Krelm, you want to run Gizzard as one of your gems, because you lose the 25% run speed when you take damage. The Gizzard gives you a huge shield, and if you're getting hit with your shield up, it doesn't count, and you keep your Krelms. So that's probably what I would do on live. Other gem options, I guess we should talk about what I'm wearing. I got the Taeguk on here. It's just level 25. I just kind of want to see the changes of Taeguk. I do think overall I like the changes. However, it is a nerf because now the armor only caps at 20%. And if you had a level 100 Taeguk, you're getting, what, 50% armor? So that's a massive nerf to Taeguk. It was terrible aids to keep Taeguk up through an entire rift. That was the most annoying shit in the game. So I do like the way they've changed it. However, decreasing that armor kind of shits on the whole idea of having it. At least the way I played it, it was more important for the defense. But in a tier 10 build, there's no reason you can't run this. And again, it's in here just to kind of check out the new synergies with the new items. Gogok, definitely not mandatory. It's just kind of in here for fun, kind of see how fast I can get these bats out. The cooldown reduction, you don't need it when I talk about the passives. That'll make sense. But if you do run it, it is a little bit beneficial. So the way cooldowns work in this game is they snapshot. So if I was to cast Hex right now, it'll have 15 seconds on the cooldown. If I stack up my Gogok like I'm going to do anyways when I'm killing an elite pack, then I'll have this maxed out at 15% cooldown reduction. And when I pop Hex, even if Gogok drops, the cooldown of Hex will be the same. So that's pretty nice. But either way, you don't even need the cooldown, so it's not something to worry about, just for fun. Up here, Gem of Efficacious Toxin was changed. It's not a big part of this build, and obviously I don't even have the second bonus unlocked. But poison enemies take 10% more damage, and the new part is that they deal less damage. So just something to play around with, not a big deal. If I was really running this build on live, I might keep Taeguk just for fun, but I'd probably do the switch, get Krelms in there, drop the Bracer. If you're wearing Gizzard, then you don't worry about the life per hit that you lose on this. And then I'll put on Boon and Hoarder, mainly for the run speed. Gold doesn't matter. If you really want to farm gold, do Greater Rift 80 or above. It's 1,000 times better than farming gold with Boon and the Hoarder or doing puzzle rings. And then for Wreath of Lightnening, I really don't like this, but if you want more run speed, this is pretty much the only way to get it. Unfortunately, it just lasts for 3 seconds. But hey, you can do a lot in 3 seconds. And then the last thing for items, Bane of the Powerful was changed, so the 20% is now going to be multiplicative, so it's actually worth running. And it added up, they added a 50% reduced damage from Elite. So that's kind of nice, something to think about, new items, or new changes for the PTR. Whirlwind Grandeur, of course, is going to let us run 5 pieces and switch something around. But rings don't really matter, run whatever you want. Let's see, Paragon. Before you guys start bitching about, oh, I've got a high Paragon so anything works, I actually took all my points out of Int. I left move at speed here. None of these items are perfect. I did a quick roll, and I'm just to kind of give them appropriate stats. But I'm not worried about it. And then, of course, I don't have any augments, because augmenting a speed farmer is terrible. Everybody got excited about the Legacy of Nightmares, you know, Locust Walker build. And then when people are running it, they're augmenting every piece. Like, what are you doing? Alright, so I'll run a Greater Rift so we can kind of see how long it takes with the time. Cast these dogs, and let's get going. So hit 1 and 2, that's going to proc both run speeds, and that was the fastest riff ever. To get out of chicken, when I get on top of a mob, I'll spam 3 twice. That's going to proc my chicken, and it's going to... Don't stand in bombs. It's going to proc my chicken, and it's going to also, on the second hit, throw down piranhas on my cursor. And now we just cruise on through. Spirit Walk through the bombs, just in case. You do have some defense, but I kind of feel like the Arachyr's damage reduction is bugged or something, because I should be a lot more tanky than it feels like. But it's PTR, so you never know. Oh, also, my follower is completely naked, which is why he's dying all the time, but he does have an Oculus Ring on. And so, another change they've made on the PTR is that your followers no longer have to make the kill to proc their Oculus Ring, which is huge. Not in terms of this build. See how I just proc right there? That circle. It's not a big deal in terms of this build because we're farming tier 10, but on your solo push, that is a massive buff because the Oculus Ring itself is supposed to be a multiplier. So as long as that doesn't change, I'm thinking every single solo build is going to run that. But again, my follower's naked, so he's just going to die over and over. But that is the Oculus Ring. How are you not dead? So 1 and 2 gets the run speed. Spirit Walk just wore off, so I slowed down. 3-3 is going to pop chickens and throw down my piranhas. So with the passives, forgot to talk about those. I'll pull them up after I finish this rift out. There we go. Little lag. Back in the barracks. So with this build, I'm honestly just looking for champ packs. If you do have to stand in Molten, you can actually do Spirit Walk while you're standing there, or while you're getting punched in the face by Roof Guardian. So that's pretty much it. Again, Paragons, didn't have anything in there, so don't complain about that. You can do whatever you want with Paragons. I forgot to talk about passive, so obviously I'm playing on hardcore, so my Spirit Vessel is definitely going to be there on every single build I ever run, forever. Graven Justice is what's going to get your everything off cooldown, so this is going to let you go in and out of chicken as much as you want. As long as you're killing things, it's going to let you cast as many piranhas as you need to. This isn't mandatory, but on a speed build, I'm always going to run it, and it also synergizes with the dog, so you get an extra dog, but if you're out of combat, 30% movement speed, in combat, 15% movement speed. Confidence Ritual is a multiplier, so you're going to get 15% multiplicative damage to anything within 20 yards. So that's a pretty massive increase. 20 yards would be from me to a little bit bigger than from me to Urshi. And if I'm hitting with bats, I'm always going to be in that range. So that's the best choice there. But let's pick up some of this sweet loot. Oh yeah. What am I going to do? And I'll level up my Efficacious Toxin just to see if I want to mess around that in the future. But this is the build. No big deal. Definitely viable. Do I think it's going to be the best speed farmer for a Witch Doctor? I would actually give that to a Helltooth Manajuma build.